Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flamong, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyama, Jamie University. It is Thursday, March 2nd, Jamie. Thursday, March 2nd. We are going to be here talking about the Notre Dame offensive staff, coaching staff is, I think, finalized completely. Matt Freeman put a note on the Irish Sports Daily message board. I think it was last week about interest in Dylan McCullough, but it looks like he's going to be staying at Notre Dame. And that's great news for the Notre Dame running backs and for probably Marcus Freeman as well, because he doesn't want to do another coaching search, I'm sure, at this point in the year. So it looks like the offensive staff is finally finalized with the official hiring of quarterbacks coach Gino Guidugli from Wisconsin, formerly of Cincinnati. And so we're going to be talking about that and what to look forward to and everything. And we're going to talk about a little bit about Jamie's 6 thoughts on a Thursday that just came out. So you're going to want to tune into the show. We have an exciting one. We're going to touch on kind of like a weekly roundup type segment where we talk about things that happen throughout the week, some of which aren't related to Notre Dame football. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If this is your first time catching the show, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and send us a comment. If you like what you hear, there's something from the show that you agree with or disagree with, put a comment in the comment section, and check us out on our podcast as well. If you can't catch us live and it's easier for you to get our content through an audio format in the car or whatever it is, I've put links to Apple and Spotify in the description box below, so you can check that out as well. All right, Jamie. Zalamea is in the chat. Hit subscribe and like. Thank you very much. Michael Parks, Marcus Freeman era. Thank you very much. Rajon is here, of course. Good morning. Good morning to you, Rajon. Joe Bro here. S. Gomez say, good morning, Jamie. Great 6 thoughts today. Good on you, Jamie Uyama.
Thanks, S. Gomez.
Yeah. And I think this is Matt. What will Isaiah Foskey's 40 time be? Yeah, that's right. He is working out today. I believe defensive ends are going to be working out. So we can talk about a little bit about that as well. And while we're talking about Isaiah Foskey, Drew Mentok of Irish Sports Daily did a great write-up on Isaiah Foskey from the Combine yesterday. He answered a bunch of questions. So go to Irish Sports Daily and check that out. It was a great job by Drew there. So, Jamie, what do you think Isaiah Foskey's 40 time? What do you think it's going to be?
My guess is going to be high 4.5s. That's
really guess. High 4.5s.
Yeah,
that's impressive. That would be good. I mean, go ahead.
I think he's first of all, I don't think he come out like he was talking a lot of like I'm gonna run the fastest. I'm gonna do. He was.
Very
I don't think you say that kind of stuff unless you know you can back it up. And first of all, I have heard he has some kind of freaky jumping kind of measurables, I guess, that I imagine he's going to do really well there. And I think, well, one thing too, you can watch, like there are plays where, everyone would get mad when he was in coverage. Like, why isn't he rushing faster? Except for you'd see him run with like a running back on a wheel route, like step for step. And you're like, you're 265 pounds. Like, he's a freak, right? He's a freak athlete. So I think he's going to surprise me. My guess is I'll go 4.58. It will be his time.
That would be faster than Kyle Hamilton at the Combine, which is not crazy. All right, that's Drew Tranquil 4.58. It would be 100th, I think, slower than Dexter Williams. Yeah. So, look, hey, that guys, they can move, right? He has tight end in his background as a high school player at De La Salle. So,
and not to hype up your boy Kyle, but I think I can't remember who posted it on Twitter now, but they were talking about the
flying
yes, 20. The flying 20.
Yeah. And Billy M.
Yes, who's a great follow. Carolina Panthers fan and also very good NFL draft follow. Good guy. Good guy for NFL draft, college football stuff too. And he mentioned about the flying 20, and because that was something that the former Vikings GM Rick Spielman talked about being important. And obviously you're never going to get that with like a high school recruit and find out what the 20 is. But that's where you kind of see it, especially because kids who aren't track kids, who don't train to get a good start, but you see them run on the field and you're like, this guy's fast. I don't care what his 40 time is. That is something that is real. Like, because it's like, if you watch Kyle Hamilton, I mean, I watched him at the opening when he was in high school and he ran 4.7, whatever there. But I'm like, look at this guy just chase down this deep ball against the fast receiver here. You know, like he just had that. He got that makeup speed. It is exactly what it is. It's makeup speed, right? So, So that is something. And I'll say with Foskey too, he's got the twitch, right? He's got the twitch.
He's twitchy guy.
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton. So the tweet was his flying 20 was 0.03 slower than a guy who ran 4.37, Lewis Seen. Yeah. So that's kind of like, and you know, there was the whole discussion about
and he's a better football player than him.
Well, that's true. Yes, he's a better football player than everybody. But that was the whole discussion about like his GPS numbers. It's like, well, if he's so slow, why is he hitting 21 miles an hour on the GPS and that sort of thing? And if he's so slow, why is he going sideline to sideline and making crazy interceptions? It's like flying 20, that aspect of it. So look, EK says he's thinking Manti like 4.7. I think Manti ran a 4.8 at the combine. And Justin Knox is thinking 4.75. It's interesting. It is. I would say if you're going to run fast, you should do it at this event because they have a fast track. So we'll see about that. So we'll check that out later on. I think it's around 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m.
I think that's more Eastern. Michael Mayer times. That's my opinion. He's going to be
he's not. Range. He doesn't strike me as twitchy as someone like Foskey does. And Coach Hump says, does Foskey's athleticism make anyone else think, what if he'd been recruited to play tight end? For me, it doesn't, because what's his name? The kid who just Carolina Panthers. I'm blanking the tight end.
Carolina Panthers. Tommy Tremble.
Yeah, Tremble.
Yeah,
Tommy Tremble. He's as good an athlete as Isaiah Foskey, right? But look, Michael Mayer is a great player. It's not just about he would have been sitting behind Michael Mayer just like everybody else, because Michael Mayer is a great football player. He's a great tight end, and he was always like really good. And it's like when you go to the opening, like you said, or he did the All-American Bowl. He tore up the All-American Bowl in the one-on-ones against these like crazy twitchy linebackers, and he just put him on skates because he knows how to run routes. He knows how to play football. So that's his superpower.
I think one of the things Foskey too, right? Because he was a tight end, right? He was a tight end at De La Salle. Obviously the famed, very successful high school football program. And he was originally, I think at one point he was like a top 5 tight end in the class, right? And I don't think he had the greatest hands. Certainly not as natural of a pass catcher as a guy like Michael Mayer. And the other thing, as Coach Hump mentioned in this other thing, is a lot more money to be made as a defensive end.
Yeah.
Right. And I'd say he was the leading sacker in Notre Dame history. I think they made a right decision. I think it was a good one. It was a good one. Yeah.
It worked out. Yeah, I would say so. I think it went good. All right, go deep. Well, let's touch on CJ Carr right now. Did he miss the CJ Carr news? No, he did not. And so Christian McCollum put a note on the Irish Sports Daily message board last night about CJ Carr. There was a report from, I think it was Rivals, who said that he was visiting Texas A&M over the weekend. He is visiting with about 100 other people, and including his entire 7-on-7 team. Right. So that's the context for the visit. We'll put it in quotes because he's not going by himself. He's going with a bunch of other people. And as Matt Freeman pointed out on the board yesterday, they did the same thing. They went to Washington this year as well with the 7-on-7 team, and that wasn't a really big deal. So this specific report that has been put out is kind of much ado about nothing. It's not that he's going by himself. He's not going with like a couple other people. He's going with his entire 7-on-7 team. And there's going to be a lot of people at Texas A&M this weekend for the same reason, right? So did you have anything to say about that, Jamie?
Yeah, that's like a pretty normal thing that happens.
Yep.
And Matt had mentioned also that he technically went on a University of Washington visit because there was like a tournament in Seattle that he had attended with them. And I mean, obviously that wasn't a thing. It's just, a Texas A&M reporter went and asked him, like another young guy asked him, whatever, mentioned it. I mean, he's trying to get the clicks. And I mean, I will say too, this happens not as frequently at Notre Dame because they aren't as many, teams and groups of like people who work with trainers that come through Notre Dame as much. But it happens, right? Where there's someone you're included in the thing where it's like, well, 5-star USC commit is going to be on campus for Notre Dame because his thing, and it absolutely means nothing. Like Notre Dame is not going to get that guy. Maybe that guy is legitimately visiting other places, and I mean, who knows? Maybe later on it will become a thing with CJ Carr. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But this is not one of those things. Like if he's going by himself, and has real interest in a school, then that would be a whole different topic. But this is not that topic.
Yeah, and I don't see it ever being Texas A&M anyway.
No,
like the Texas A&M, when I saw it, I was like, why would he do that? Like that doesn't make sense. So that the fact that it's a 7-on-7 thing, it makes a lot more sense. So I don't think this one is any reason for concern there.
Yeah.
So IT 6900. He's from ISD subscriber. So thank you for being a subscriber to ISD. Thanks for putting this podcast together, gentlemen. No problem. A lot of people asked, and so we did it. We put out the pod. Go Deep says best ND pod by a mile. Thank you, Go Deep. I appreciate that. That's very nice. EK makes a point that Matt Freeman made on the message board. It's been high 80s down here all week. Can you blame the kid for wanting to do frost for a few days? There's not a lot of 7-on-7 tournaments going on in the Indiana area due to snow and cold and terribleness, right? So it makes sense that they're going to warmer weather climates.
I mean, even California's getting hit.
Let's go. California, there's snow all over the mountains, Jamie. Yeah. There was hail here yesterday. Hail, Jamie. My son came home from school and he's like, "Daddy, what's the white stuff on the ground?" And I was, and he was like, "Is it snow?" And I was like, "Well," he's like, "because it's really hard." I was like, "Yeah, it is really hard. It's called hail. It's not a common thing, but that happened yesterday." So yeah. Another thing too is top quarterbacks go do the 7-on-7 thing, like you said.
Yeah.
Not very often Notre Dame's got a top quarterback in a 7-on-7 team, right? Like this hasn't come up recently that I recall.
Yeah, I guess not.
Because Phil Dracovic wasn't a 7-on-7 guy.
He wasn't.
And I don't remember Buckner being a 7-on-7 guy.
No, wasn't. I think it usually depends on where you live, and usually like with a guy like CJ Carr, it wouldn't, because there's not a lot of Michigan guys that are that too. So like Dante Moore, wasn't, right? So
I think he was.
I mean, a little bit, but not really, like in terms of like he would pop in on some of those big national things, but it was almost like he was brought in as a ringer.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like I don't think he had like, he wasn't on like Boom, which is based out of Illinois, but then they get like a lot of national kids too on it too. Like he wasn't on one of those. So, and this is kind of like I think CJ Carr's team. I mean, Matt can correct us if we're wrong, but I believe it is more of a national team that is.
They were in California recently, I know.
Yeah. So, and I don't know. Good. I mean, good for him if he's going to go there and get reps and stuff like that. But I don't think I think 7-on-7 is one of these things where it's weird, because I was like, I actually read like something from someone on 7-on-7 the other day where I was talking about how 7-on-7 can be equally good for quarterbacks and also ruin certain quarterbacks. How like some guys are just 7-on-7 guys because that's what they know. And it's like, it's just so completely different than anything. And because people don't run it to get better, they run it to win, and it's like, it's like, I don't know about you, Greg, but like, I'm sure you were involved in 7-on-7 when you played, like just in a small way, not in the way that it is now, but like I went with my high school, we went in 7-on-7 tournaments, and it was like just starting to kind of like become a thing then. And we did fine in the tournaments we went in. But when we played certain teams that were like, they had plays that weren't like football plays, they were like 7-on-7 plays, and those teams whipped us because they were like, they played a strategy, right? It's kind of like playing, there's a difference between 3-on-3 and playing full court, basketball, right? And it's an adjustment.
So when I played 7-on-7 in high school, when we did like passing leagues, like 7-on-7s, it was, you ran your playbook and they ran their playbook, and so that's what it was, right? It wasn't this specifically tailored to take advantage of a 7-on-7 environment. As it got more popular, as it got like, hey, there's like traveling teams now, like separate from your high school. Like there were no like tournaments that were separate from your high school team. Your high school team went to a tournament. It wasn't boom where it's like an all-star team of 7-on-7 guys. Once that happened, and once people started to figure out like there's actually ways to kind of game it, because you're pulling flags and you're doing these other things, like there's no tackling, right? So there are specific things you can do in a flag football environment, in a 7-on-7 environment, you can't really do in a regular football game. So that's what Jamie's talking about there. It is different. But that's what's going on with CJ Carr. That's the update. Everything is fine regarding this specific instance, right? If there's something else that comes up, then that'll be reported and talked about at the time. But right now, there's nothing really to worry about.
Breaking news from Matt Freeman too, that he just popped in and let us know that Caleb Beasley, who's 2024 corner that committed to Tennessee, that Notre Dame was really in on and thought they were lead for it, he's going to visit Notre Dame April 1st. So,
wow,
that's big. Pretty significant. I mean, obviously Notre Dame already has 2 corners in the class, but that's a guy like, you'd want him. He's an elite corner in this class. He was at Irish Invasion, looked terrific there, was probably the top, definitely the top defensive back there. It was between him and Cam Williams for the top player there. They were both fantastic. Ton of ball production. I mean, he's a really, really great prospect. So it's not small news.
No, that's big news. That's huge news, especially when there was, like you said, so much buzz about him at the camp, and there were a lot of good players at that camp, right? So a lot of good wide receivers too. And Notre Dame's been on him, even though he was committed to Tennessee. Notre Dame's been on him. I think we brought him up on a previous show. I mean, it had to have been a few shows ago, more than a few shows, since it's all been coaching carousel. But just the fact that Notre Dame was still talking to him, even though the fact that he was committed to Tennessee, and the fact that they're talking to him that much, it means he's very receptive. So the fact that he's going to visit is a big deal. And this is where, Jamie, and I was gonna start somewhere else, but we can go to 6 thoughts on a Thursday right now, because you brought up the fact that Notre Dame is their best position on defense right now is the corners. You've got Cam Hart and Ben Morrison, who are the starting corners, and especially Ben Morrison, who comes in as a freshman, is a freshman All-American, has 6 interceptions, right? Like that for someone like Caleb Beasley, you don't have to then project it onto him. It's like, look, this is what happened. Ben Morrison came in. He was great. Wasn't an early enrollee. Got immediate playing time, and he became a freshman All-American, and that can be you as well. So that's a really good kind of, segue into the point that you made in 6 thoughts and this news right now that he's going to be visiting in April. It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. And I do think, like, Notre Dame, I think it's by far the best position on the defense, and I can't think of the last time it was.
I was percolating on a hot take for the cornerback room, like the starting cornerbacks. Like, how good historically can Ben Morrison and Cam Hart be? I mean, it could be up there, like top, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it really could be.
Yeah. Well, I think Julian Love and Troy Pride in 2018. I mean, that was a great duo. It was a great duo
for sure.
I think, kind of going back to it. I mean, I can't even. I'm trying to think back, and it's like Vontez Duff and Shane Walton. Like, is that like probably like? And I mean, really, like, I not that. I mean, Vontez Duff was a fine player, but he and Walton obviously was an All-American, had an All-American season.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of, if you look at it, and I think that would be kind of maybe laughable to some other programs they'd look at it, but Notre Dame really hasn't had that really like great corner. Like, I'm like, I think back to like the fact that Bobby Taylor is still like someone people point to, and it's like, man, that was just
like Bobby Taylor, Tom Carter.
Yeah, right. Todd Light. Like,
Yeah.
Todd Light happened so long ago that he came back to coach and then left, and then went up. Like, that's like finished his NFL career, right? So it's just it's wild, right? They haven't really had this kind of unit strength in general. Like, and I think if you look at it a couple of years ago, where Clarence Lewis was starting as a freshman, like, he had to start.
Yeah.
And he did fine for considering the circumstances, but let's be honest, you want someone with a higher ceiling, and he's always kind of had his, I think, physical limitations, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's a good player. So if he's your third or fourth corner, and last year he was the fourth corner, right? That's pretty good. And he ended up being good and making plays, and that's what he does. He finds the football. He's fine in his role. And now I think that's the kind of same situation where he's going to be probably the third or fourth corner. I think Christian Gray's got a chance to really help out this year too. And I know I really like what they've got at corner.
I mean, you just look at, like, okay, at the end of the year against USC, because so Ben Morrison, right? He ate against Boston College, 8 against Clemson, right? Not great passing teams, Then they go against USC. Who got over on him in the USC game? Like, nobody, right?
Nobody.
And Cam Hart was out of that game, and Tariq Bracy was out of that game, right? So they went other places, but they didn't get over on Ben Morrison in that game, right? You look at him against Ohio State and Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't get over on him, right? Like,
they picked on Cam Hart, right? Not Ben Morrison,
right?
Like, yeah.
And so it was just it was just like, he was really good. He was really good player, and like, the difference for him and these other guys that we're talking about, like Julian Love and Troy Pride and Shane Walton and Vontez Duff and those guys, is that Ben Morrison has that upside. He has that, like, you could be a first round pick upside. And Notre Dame hasn't had that at corner in a very, very long time. I mean, that goes back to Bobby Taylor, right? I mean, he was a second round pick, right? So, that they definitely have an opportunity there. They have something there to build off of. And to go back to the point, like Caleb Beasley, the guys like that, they see that and they say, hey, if he can do it, I can do it, right? Because I feel like I'm a similar quality player. Who was opposite Bobby the Blanket Taylor? So in 94, I think that was a combination of let's see, Ivory Covington was a freshman in 94. Rossum was a freshman in 94. Sean Wooden was
Wooden.
Corner. Yeah, he was a corner there.
That a 94 is like kind of like that era's 4 and 8. You try to block out that season as much as possible.
Yeah.
It was a pretty sad season.
Yeah. 93 was Greg Lane.
Yeah.
Number 33. 92, he was in 92, he was a safety, played free safety next to Jeff Burris. And
incredible too, because Jeff Burris played safety, also played corner in the NFL. Like that. I mean, that's 93 team was loaded. I mean, all those early 90s teams were loaded.
Jeff Burris, like star, like
he was my favorite player.
Star.
When I was a kid watching Notre Dame, he was because he also like. I mean, it was also very cool that he came in and they were like full house backfield. Let's hand the ball to Jeff Burris and give him a touchdown here. Like that was also very cool at the time. I mean, obviously, that Bryant Young was a huge part of that team. Aaron Taylor, Tim Ruddy, Lee Becton, Ray Zellers, Kevin McGee,
Randy Kinder, Jeff Burris was second on the team in rushing touchdowns in 93.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's but I was told, Jamie, that safeties should not play offense lest they get hurt. And here I am again, upset about the Kyle Hamilton situation. All right. So we will move on. Jamie, congratulations. We're going to say congratulations to Nail Ivy for her team winning the regular season ACC championship. Congratulations to the women's basketball team overcoming injuries to a couple of key players and most recently to Olivia Miles. Still no update on that. Hopefully everything is okay with her. And then she was named ACC Coach of the Year by the coaches of the ACC, much to the chagrin of Mark Packer, who I think, to his credit, I guess he walked back. He said, I should have done better. I should have given her more flowers for the coaching job that she did. He got a lot of flack online for his comments. Really wanted it to be someone else, but hey, he walked it back and then sort of didn't in the comments after that, but that's fine. But the point is that Nail Ivy won the award, and congratulations to her and the women, and hopefully they do a great job in the ACC tournament and then into the NCAA tournament itself. Do you have a comment, Jamie, on that?
Well, congrats to Ivy and congrats to the women's program in general and like how they've done it, and it's obviously exciting, especially because the men's basketball program is not in a good spot right now, and it's something for Notre Dame fans to root for, and they're a fun team to watch. And I think the fact that they haven't mentioned anything with Miles being out for sure means there's, even if it's a slim chance, there still might be a chance that she's back. So I just thought the thing with Packer, I don't even disagree with his take on it, like saying Carl Lawson deserved it. That's fine. He could have, but the fact that he was so defiant in it in the moment, it was very, as I think, I can't remember if it was on where it was, if it's on Twitter or if this was on Discord, or whatever, but a lot of people were saying like it was very Kanye taking the mic from Taylor Swift. It was just like, what? Come on. And but in the end, who cares, man? You're just the guy on the TV. Like, it's just
It was very much I think I'm a tape. He's a tape guy. Yeah. And he was co-hosting an award show where it's like, hey, we're not doing takes right now. Just talk about the winners, man. They have their accolades. The team won the conference, and so she's Coach of the Year. And if you disagree,
you can give flowers to Lawson too.
Yeah.
But you don't have to
be normal.
The way he handled it was just not good.
Just be regular. It's not hard.
Muffet's gonna come on here with their pom poms. And like, okay, get out of here. Like, it was bad. It was
not good. But that's fine. We move on. And you mentioned the men's basketball team. They had their last home game yesterday. Mike Bray had his last home game as Notre Dame head basketball coach. They ended up beating
Backer after.
Yeah, they went to the Backer. He ended up beating Pitt, I think, as the top team in the ACC, which they were ranked 25th. It's like the number one team in the ACC is ranked 25. Like, geez, that's ridiculous. Yeah. But anyway, so I guess congrats to him for going out on top like that. Went to the Backer, took a lot of shots. which I guess is cool. Jamie, have you ever been in the backer? I've never been in the backer.
I've never been, and I plan on never going. But that's just me. I'm not a big drinker. Not a big drinker.
No,
Was
I
in
mean,
my earlier days, but not
I
in
mean,
my
I'll go
older
to
days.
a bar. I'll have, I'll take shots or whatever.
Yeah,
But I've never. It's like it's hard to get in, and it's
I'll have
like
a
there's a
pint of
line, and
Guinness.
parking. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with parking problems. I don't like that. All right. Coach Hump says, question for Jamie and Greg: with the knowledge that Morrison left the bowl game with a head injury, I think should that be a concern going forward? Not unless he gets another couple, like another one. Like another one is probably like, I don't like that. Another two, and then you start thinking like, oh, this is not good. But on the face of it, I don't have big concerns about it.
Also, if you get it, I mean, not that there's ever a good time to get a concussion. If that was what it definitely was, but like, you would rather have it at the end of the season, where you have plenty of time. There's not a game to get ready for. You're not trying to rush back. They're not trying to, skirt protocols or anything. Not that Notre Dame has ever done that. They've always been very patient and I think smart with getting guys, not forcing guys back early. But yeah, I don't think there's anything to worry about there. I mean, I don't believe that it has been a problem with him. And maybe for some guys, it would have been a bigger deal, but I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah. Yep. Apologies to everybody. I'm dealing with a bit of a cold, so I had to go off screen and sneeze for a second. So I muted myself. So that's what's going on. I have a little stuffy nose. So, all right, let's transition to Gino Guidugli, Jamie. And first of all, I want you to say it. Say it with me. Guidugli. Say it.
Guidugli.
Guidugli. You got it. All right. Good.
Yeah.
So he's officially the quarterback coach, Jamie. They have streamlined the background check process, and we are. Notre Dame is getting it to where he can be officially hired. Sometimes these takes like multiple weeks, not this in this specific instance. So the offensive coaching staff is in place now, Jamie. And you brought up something in your 6 thoughts today that I think is important when we look at the offense going forward. We look at the staff and we look at we talked last show about the whether it's better than last year, right? In terms of the staff and that sort of thing. And I think we were kind of projecting that onto the performance of the offense. But you brought up a good point in 6 thoughts in that last year, the top player on the offense was the tight end. And it's really hard to have a very explosive offense, a very good offense when that's your top player, especially when Michael Mayer, we talked about earlier, like he's not a twitchy guy. He's not like a big play, he's going to gash you all over the field type player, right? Like that's not his game.
Yeah.
He has a very good game, right? And he's a great player, but he doesn't bring that element to the offense. And this year, putting aside the staff, your top player is the quarterback and the 2 tackles. And that projects a lot more to having a good offense, an explosive offense, and a dangerous offense than what Notre Dame put out there last year. So why don't you go a little bit more into that? Because I thought you had some really good comments in 6 thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think if it's right now it's NFL Combine time, and so it's NFL draft season, and I think one of the things with recruiting, how it differs from the NFL draft, is that you're always trying to fill up. It's not like a draft class is like you got to get. There's value. It's like you're obviously taking how you value someone is worth more in round 1.
Yeah.
Than they are in round 2. Or it's like if someone you have the same grade on a prospect, but someone plays left tackle and another guy plays guard, well, you're going to value the left tackle. It's a valuable position, right? And I think if you look at it, the 4 most valuable positions in terms of what teams look at in the NFL, and I think in football in general, and what they kind of value are quarterback, number 1 with a bullet, no doubt. And then after that, pick your order. It's, defensive end / pass rusher. a left tackle, and then I would say corner, right? Those are and you can put it any other way you want. And you look at what Notre Dame has, where they have Sam Hartman at corner. They have Joe Alt as their left tackle, who's going to be a preseason All-American, wasn't made All-American teams last year. Probably going to be one of the best tackles in college football. And then you got Blake Fisher as your other tackle, too. Not too shabby.
Right.
And then you have Benjamin Morrison, who is going to be one of the best corners in college football. And like we said, corner is already like a position of strength. And there's other spots you kind of need to fill out, and you got to find out who would a wide receiver number one, because I'd say that's probably like next on the list. Or if like, some kind of like really disruptive, like, war daddy, a defensive tackle, like that's probably next after. Those are all important spots. But I would say out of the four most important spots, I mean, it's like, if not home runs, it's like pretty darn close to it at three of the four. And then, I mean, our hot take saying I'm pretty bullish on Jordan Mattel. Isaiah Foskey just really praised him. And Drew Mentok, who works for ISD, was at the combine and spoke to Isaiah Foskey, and he praised Jordan Mattel like that might be your pass rusher, right? So I'd say Notre Dame is set up pretty well, to have it just. The floor of the team is going to be pretty high just because of that, because you have these extremely you have elite players at the most valuable positions on the field.
Right. And I think what's probably missing from there is you just mentioned like a one at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like one, it's just like they really need because like, okay, Caleb Smith, right? He's good, but it's like he's good, like solid. Like I don't think he's truly going to like be scaring teams.
Yeah, he might be their wide receiver one, but not a wide receiver one. Yeah.
Right. Like they really need Tobias Merriweather and Lorenzo Styles to be like dangerous, and those are the guys that they need to get going. And that's where I think, like someone like Gino Guidugli comes in, right? Where it's like passing game guy, passing game coordinator. And do you like the fact that Guidugli they have a dedicated quarterback coach, not the OC?
Yeah.
Right. It's like he doesn't have to worry about the running game or the receivers or the offensive line or any of that stuff. He doesn't have to worry. They only have to worry about like the quarterback coach can be just solely concerned about the quarterbacks in the passing game and how they develop. Like, I do think that there might have been I don't know what the word is, like a blind spot or some sort of disconnect between we talked about it a bunch, like what Tommy Rees saw from the offense and what he was able to instill in the quarterbacks to see on the offense. Like, is it better then that there is just a dedicated quarterback coach who has only one thing to worry about? Because I think that for quarterbacks, you have to knowing where to go with the ball is at least as important as being accurate.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it leads to that, right? Like if you know where the ball is supposed to go confidently, then that helps you with being accurate with the ball, because you don't have, it's like in golf, right? In golf, if you are confident in the shot that you're about to hit, then it helps you hit a good shot.
Yeah.
If you're confident in where you're going with the ball, it helps you deliver that ball accurately. Yeah. And so this is where I think, a dedicated quarterback coach can really up the game, not just of Sam Hartman, but of Tyler Buchner as well. I wanted to get your thoughts on that sort of idea.
I think there is something to that, because you have to. There's just a lot you have to juggle. As the play caller during the game, and obviously Tommy Rees is, after every series, he's talking to the quarterback, right? And it's not like Parker. Jared Parker isn't going to be talking to the quarterback after a series either. He will be, right? He'll be communicating with him, but it's like he's communicating with him in terms of the big picture. And I do think having like a little bit of a narrow focus is can kind of help those guys, in practice, in games, in meeting rooms and stuff too. I do think that is something that can be beneficial, right? Can be beneficial. I mean, obviously, a good play caller is a good play caller, and that's going to help someone out more than anything else. But in terms of just like, I do think that having the confidence and knowing like exactly like someone who's seeing it through your eyes all the time and not having to also peer over to the side because I need to see like, oh, our left tackle's not doing this or whatever. Like that, that is something I think it can be beneficial.
Bernie Coder says, don't think Sam Hartman needs a quarterback coach. It's like his 12th year. He is old. What I would say is if he was going to the NFL, he would definitely need a quarterback coach. Like he's been in college for a long time. He's never been in this offense ever. Yeah. Right. So I think for him, he may need a quarterback coach more than Tyler Buckner, because Tyler Buckner's been in this offense and Sam Hartman has not. Right. Like, I think, he's old for a college player, but he's not old like in life. Like he's 22, 23, 24. Like that's a young person. Right. So,
I don't know if did you ever watch that NFL Films, that Bill Belichick thing that they did? It was a number of years back now, because I mean, it's funny because Tom Brady was a veteran.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But when Tom Brady would meet with him every week, and they would go, and that's where they were praising Ed Reed, right? It was that famous clip, right? And I think that just shows you Tommy Brady was already pretty much the GOAT at that point, or at least in the conversation. It was like him and Joe Montana at that time. And he needed Bill Belichick to be like, because he could see things that he couldn't. And everyone needs some help. No one is perfect. Yeah. Like that is, it's frankly a wild and ridiculous thing to think that no one would need a quarterback coach, because even guys who are masters at their craft, can have things that they're not seeing, or maybe they need to, or going back to, not that we're doing just a lot of golf analogies here, but Tiger Woods getting a new swing coach or whatever, right? Like, and you're like, why does he need a new swing coach? He's already won, he won this many majors with Hank Haney or whatever. And it's like, well, he needed to change something with his game. Like that happens all the time.
Yeah. Do you know if Parker is a sideline guy or a booth guy?
I do not know. Somebody asked on Power Hour about it, and I have no idea. I mean, and frankly, too, what he did at West Virginia might not be what he does at Notre Dame, too, right? Because everybody's different, and also too, it might be different because Guidugli might feel more comfortable somewhere, and it's all like how you deal with the staff and how like the chemistry of that works. I don't know. It's interesting because like if you look at it, right, there's always been different ways. So like Marcus Freeman was down on the field, Clark Lee up top, right? Yeah. Chip Long down on the field, Tommy Reese up top, right? Everyone feels more comfortable. Bob Diaco wasn't up in the booth guy. Speaking of Bob Diaco, just hired by LSU. Yeah. But like I just it's always so different. And it's just like one of those things. It's like it just depends what you're comfortable with. And I always think of oh gosh, I don't know why I'm blanking on the New York Giants coach who was the
Parcells?
No, the current
Daboll?
Brian Daboll.
Brian Daboll.
And I just think he was like a master play caller, like just a great, which is crazy to me that the Giants are so successful. And he wasn't the play caller. He just handed it off to Mike Kafka, but was a guy who's just did it from the field. And I was like, he sees things and sets things up. I'm like, but he's not in the booth, but it feels like he's in the booth, and just some guys are just that good, that can just do it and get that feel for it. And it's just interesting to see, like, whatever works for different people. So yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with Parker.
Yeah, I guess my preference is for Guidugli to be on the field. I want him to talk to the quarterbacks. Like,
I do like that
they come off the
conversation
field
rather than
on the phone. Like, just look at a guy, like you can have a conversation. You can actually have a back and forth on the phone. It's like a phone.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like that, because I feel like you have to have it. Like, you need to be able to see the player,
yeah,
and connect with them that way.
And I think it was different when it was Brian Kelly was down there,
right?
Because he was, really communicating.
He was an offense guy.
Yeah, he was always communicating with so that kind of like took that. And then when he left, it's just a little bit different because, not that Marcus Freeman was talking to the quarterbacks, but not in the same way that Brian Kelly would. Right. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to kind of see there. I do think, I would lean towards that. I do like them. I like the quarterbacks to have that in-person conversation. And because sometimes too, you're talking to somebody and you just get a read of just how they are by seeing them. Yeah.
All right. Coach Humph has a hot take Thursday, Jamie. I think you're going to enjoy. If it is, I could throw it out there that it's very possible that Patelho breaks the 1-season sack record. And it's something different about Patelho. There's something different, Jamie. One season sack record. Where are you at with this?
I mean, I don't like. I think somebody else on ISD, I believe it was ATL Irish, great poster, longtime ISD guy. I think he said 14 and a half sacks for that.
Let's
I was
go.
like, okay. Tuck's got the record, right?
Yeah.
For single season. Was it 13 and a half or?
I think so.
Okay. I mean, it's a lot of sacks.
It's a lot of sacks.
Okay, here's the one thing that I think, not to get too nerdy about it, but Notre Dame plays Navy. So you're just basically taking a game off the schedule.
Yeah.
So, because I guess you could get, you can get sacks against Navy, but there's a lot less chances in those games. So some of that, plays a part in it. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's I don't think it's a hot take to say that he has a chance at double-digit sacks.
You did say All-American candidate. You did.
Yeah, I think he has a chance at double-digit sacks. So yeah.
Okay. All right.
But 14. I mean, I'll take it. That'd be great. Yeah.
Westward Manor Film says it feels like Cam Hart has been okay, but never really reached his potential. Why do you think that is? Are injuries holding him back, or is it something else?
I mean, he has been banged up. I mean,
the
he was
shoulder
banged
is
up
a
this
problem.
year. Yeah. And he was pretty much banged up from the go. Like he had a hammy in camp. First of all, couldn't have a worse thing to have for a corner than a hammy. Because if you can't really fully train or you can't really trust it, and there's just points too. At no other point, like at receiver, it's not like you aren't running hard or having twitch, but you can certainly pace yourself a little bit different than corner, rather than if you're corner and you're beat and you got to catch up. Well, you have to push it to 110 or whatever, right? And and you might worry about that because you're like, is my hammy gonna pop here? Whatever. Like, so I think there was that, and then obviously the shoulder too. So I think that had probably a lot to do with his. I guarantee you, because he was hurt in camp, and with the thing with the hamstring, that is why they went after him in that Ohio State game. Yeah, they're like, he's hurt, like let's go after him. I don't know. I think I think he's a good player. I don't know, like, I think he's going to be probably better this year if he's healthy. I think health probably had the biggest thing to do with it. But also, I think people had a realistic, like, people were like, is he going to be like a lockdown corner? I'm like, he didn't really show that the year before. It's not like Ben Morrison where you're like, oh, I mean, I just don't see people getting separation on this guy. And he's like catching back shoulder interceptions, like he's running the route or anything like that. You never saw that with with heart. Even his like, he had the picks against Wisconsin, but Mertz it up, right? So it's like, and he just sat on those and broke, right? And there were great plays, but I'm just saying it's different. So I think some of the expectations were a little bit unrealistic for him. Yeah. And I think he's a very good player, and I think he's going to be an NFL player. And I think it probably helps him that Morrison is going to be seen as, oh, this is the guy. And then Cart doesn't have to have that kind of pressure on him.
He has too many mental errors, too many lapses in concentration. Like if you look at his numbers in terms of, completions against, like completion percentage against, yards per attempt, they're great.
They're good.
They're really good. Like he's right around 50% completions against. He's like 6.5 yards per attempt against. But he gives up a lot of touchdowns because he will just, when I played, it was a brain fart is what it was. That was the term that was used. It's like he'll just like against Cal, they give him
touchdown. The Cal play action.
He just blew coverage. He just like he just like
just
the
bad
touchdown,
eye discipline. Yeah,
the touchdown against Ohio State was just like, it was just a mental error. Like he's there, and look, it's a great timing throw. It's a great play by Stroud.
But it was bad technique, and
like he just wasn't. You're not in touch with the wide receiver. Like you should not ever be in that position, right? Those are the things that he'll just have those in a game, like the play against North Carolina on the 4th and 21, right? Like that wasn't his fault, right? But he's also not playing it right. Like you do need to sync on that, right? Like in that coverage, you do need to sync on the receiver, and he's just kind of passing him off. And so it's stuff like that where he'll be fine. Like he'll be playing great. And then he'll do something that's like, what? You can't do that. Like, why did you do that? And so that's what he has to get rid of out of his game. If he gets rid of that, he'll be great. He'll be a great player, and if he can eliminate the mental errors, he's like a 3rd, 4th round pick because he's long, he can run. Yeah. And the problem is the shoulder, I think, is going to be a real problem. Just no matter, like in terms of his NFL future, he's going to go to the medicals and they're going to look at his shoulder and be like, hey, this guy, he can't stay healthy. He's never been healthy. He's had the shoulder harness every single year that he's been a regular player. And so that's gonna hurt him a good amount. Right. But I love Cam Hart's game. I love it. I watch him and I see him and I think this guy has all the tools, man. I love it. I think
he's a good player.
Yeah. I want the mental errors to go away. I think a lot of him. I really do. He was like my Xavier Watts before Xavier Watts, right? Like I just loved his game.
Good recognition, perimeter screen game.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And like the tackling too, like he'll have some of the best tackles like you've seen. Like he'll come up and he'll be aggressive and all those other things. And then he'll just kind of whiff one. And it's like, like
that Virginia Tech.
That's even a mental error thing to me too. Like just be more physical.
Yeah.
Josh Miller asks, is it a sack if you tackle the quarterback behind the line, even if he was planning on running? To my knowledge, it is not.
It's not.
They have to say this is definitely a pass, and that can be subjective too. So
it can be subjective. So like one just pops out to me. Ramon Henderson against Virginia in 2021 came on a blitz and he tackled the quarterback, and it looked like a sack, but it was like a speed option type play. And they called it attack for loss, right? Like it's just one of those things, and it can depend on the score, like the score. And first of all, too, I think some of the tackle numbers and stuff, like how like this guy gets a credit for tackle, or it's like why someone gets an assist on a tackle and when other people don't. It's bad. They're just bad. I mean, not that. I mean, well, no. This is their job. Do a better job of everyone doing it. Not just, I'm not talking about Notre Dame people. I'm talking about just people, college football people in general. The numbers are way off. Yeah. They're very off. Yeah.
Rajon and Tyler Borgman are having a spirited debate on who the GOAT quarterback is. Is it someone other than Brady, James?
I don't think so. I mean,
It's tough.
you could say you can make an argument if you want to make like the John Elway is the most talented quarterback of all time argument. You want to say Joe Montana, look what he did in the playoffs. Like he just was so unbelievable in the playoffs. It's with Brady, it's a little bit like LeBron where he's got so much there in terms of just longevity that it adds, just he just piled on with it. But there's this someone had this tweet, like, I don't know if it was when he retired or if it was last year, whatever, but he basically had 3 Hall of Fame careers in one career.
Yeah.
And no one else has had close to that. And he has also been so clutch in so many situations. And if you look at the teams that he won with, he just didn't have there was a lot of times where the talent wasn't that great.
Yeah.
And he clearly was the guy who helped propel a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And Rajon mentions Johnny Unitas. I can't tell you of some of these guys who played in that earlier era. I don't know. People say Otto Graham. He won 11 NFL championships or whatever the number was, right? Who knows really? But out of say modern day quarterbacks from the 70s and on, or even 60s and on or whatever, I guess, right? I don't know how you could make an argument for some guys, but you'd probably lose. If it was Brady.
So the argument that Tyler is making is essentially it's about the games he won, not the way that he played. I think is the essence of what Tyler is saying. It's kind of like it's
so who's the best then? Michael Vick?
Well, but I think so. You're looking for a combination, right? So, for example, we're talking about golf a lot today. So let's talk about golf again. Tiger Woods has less majors than Jack Nicklaus, right?
Yeah.
But you look at Tiger Woods play, it's man, that's the best golfer ever, right? You just look at him, you're just man, that guy, he has less, but he's awesome. He is great, right? And so I think that's the argument that Tyler's making is Tyler's saying I've watched a lot of football, right? I'm speaking for Tyler at this point. Tyler has watched a lot of football at this point. And I know that there are players, quarterbacks, great quarterbacks who have won Super Bowls, who are better quarterbacks. If you were drafting, if I could have any quarterback to win me a game and or to go a whole season, I have to win a Super Bowl. I can pick any quarterback from any era at any point, and I need that quarterback to be my quarterback for a year. I'm not going to pick Tom Brady, I think is what Tyler is saying.
I'm picking Tom Brady and I'll beat your ass. Well, I'm
sorry. So if I'm Tyler, I would not pick Peyton Manning. I would not. Here's the problem.
I'm a Peyton guy. Peyton Manning is my favorite quarterback of all time. I love Peyton Manning. Love Peyton Manning. He's always been my guy. And so I'm saying that as Manning is my guy. You can't. The problem is he was in the same conference as Brady for that whole time, and Brady got the best of him almost every time. That's the problem. That just is true. And he didn't have Marvin Harrison. He didn't have Edgerrin James. He didn't have any Wayne.
Reggie Wayne. Yeah, he didn't have that. He just didn't. It's funny though. The one year he did when he had Randy Moss, they ended up not winning. That's.
He did throw for 50 touchdowns that year. Yeah,
he did.
He did. I don't know. It's one of these things. That's what makes sports fun is that you can debate these kind of things.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's different ways you can put it. You could say, so, on Tyler's list, he has Aaron Rodgers on there. Right. And Aaron Rodgers, I would say is, actually, I would say Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers are the two guys who could do things that I don't think I haven't really seen any other quarterbacks do what they can do.
Yeah.
In terms of some of the throws that they can make. And they're just, it's a different level of special. And I do think like Mahomes might end up being the GOAT by the time.
He's on his way. He
He's
is for sure.
phenomenal. But I mean, and I don't think it's as easy as I will say I don't think it's as easy as saying like, you know, oh, this many Super Bowls is this and it's that, whatever. But when you look at just like, I mean, pressure situations, and how they won the games. Like if it was like, even if you're like, you take away like all the Super Bowls that were like, Brady wasn't that great in it. Oh, so he still won like 5 when he was MVP or what, you know, it's just, it's, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's hard.
I mean, what is it? 7?
7.
It's a lot.
And and if you just stack up all these, just the numbers are just ridiculous. It's kind of like when you look at like how Travis Kelce, like heading into the Super Bowl, they were like, he's played a full NFL season in the playoffs, and his numbers were like 1,500 yards and 20 touchdowns or whatever it was, right? I just like it then that just doing it in the playoffs and all that does matter. It does.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna leave it there. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It was a really good show. Check us out on podcasts, if Apple Pods, Spotify Pods, if you want to listen again, or if you're recommending to somebody who doesn't like YouTube or whatever, let them know. You can catch us on Apple Pods and Spotify Pods as well. We'll be back next week talking about various things. We got to get back into spring football, Jamie. We got to start talking about the team. Yep. We got to talk about all those things. So I'm excited to get into the football team here. Hopefully, knock on wood, right? So thanks for everyone for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know we're going live. Check us out next Tuesday. We'll be back at our regular time. So everyone else, have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.